I got cleaned up, as you guys can see, fall camp, got the picture day. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, I kind of do look like J-Bat, you know? I was like, it's a weird resemblance. Maybe we're long lost brothers, I don't know. But hey, glad everybody's here. First, we had an elite summer, really did. We attacked it. We went 4 weeks on, a week off for 4th of July, and another 4 week block leading up into right now. Thought Brandon Roberts and his staff did an excellent job preparing our guys for practice. That really is what summer is all about, is to prepare your mind, your body, your soul for football practice. And they did a really excellent job. Fall camp is here. It is here, and it's very exciting. As much as I love talking to everybody in this room, I am more excited about practicing football. It's amazing how quickly the off season evaporates, and you snap your fingers and you're right back into football mode. Fall camp, it's all about details and execution of our scheme. That really is where we're building currently, and where we will continue to build throughout the next 30 days or so until we play on September 5th. It is also time to get into playing shape, right? Like I mentioned, summer is about getting ready for practice. Now fall camp, it's execution details and then playing ourselves into shape for that first contest. There's going to be a lot of competition out there. I know there was some talk about starting lineups and all that. There really still is no starters. We can project out where we feel like this team is going to be, but I want this team to be as competitive as possible from top down with the roster. Why? Because we have to have strength in numbers. That to me is a key component to playing winning football, especially in October and November where championships happen, is to have strength in numbers and to have winning football from multiple positions. Our process really is our winning edge. When you think about what we do as a program, what separates us from others is our process, how we practice, how we meet, how we recover, how we eat, sleep, plan as a coach. All those are what I am going to double down on, and I'm not going to stop. The process is what makes us different, and really excited about that. As we get into fall camp, there's a few players that I just want to note because I know I'll be asked on it. Just guys that initially will not be involved in practice and then are getting back. Nick Anderson, he's working back into full speed work. Had a really good summer. Vontae Barnes as well. Jaden Smith is in that same category. Sam Green, to me, he's looking great. Expecting him to be a factor for us on defense this year. And then Tegra had a minor procedure. He'll be back within the next week or so. So nothing that is a major season-ending setback. But I just wanted to point those guys out because I know everybody in this room will probably be at our practice on Thursday and want to give you guys a little bit before you even get out there. But very excited, obviously, about the opportunity to go out there with this 2026 Kentucky Wildcat football team. And with that, I'll just open it up.
Will, with this latest court decision in Colorado on Friday, are you all looking at any fifth-year guys still at this point? How does that process play out?
Yeah, John, we are looking to enhance our roster all the time through high school recruiting, portal recruiting, junior college. If there's a 5-for-5 option that we believe that can make us better, we're going to attack it full force. So I think it's still a wait and see. People are not quick to act just because it's something that's reported on Twitter, and there's some judges that are ruling in favor of student athletes getting their fifth year back. But anytime that we can enhance our roster, I'm going to be full steam ahead.
Will, speaking of enhancing the roster, you recently added a couple of JUCO running backs. Can you talk about the reasoning behind that, what you liked about them, and what the state of the running back room is right
Sure.
now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I just mentioned about having strength in numbers. Last season at Oregon, we went through and played about 6 running backs. So I love 2-back sets. I love the ability to use those guys out of the backfield. And both those players, if they would have been able to come out in January, would have had a multitude of offers throughout the entire country. I think they're both really good players. They're young, and they got a bright future ahead. So we wanted to again, exhaust everything that we can to keep enhancing this roster, regardless of availability of players. I thought those two could make us better.
You got a lot of attention with your "because of me" comment at the media days. Were you surprised by that? And are you glad that kind of was a headline across the country?
I'm not surprised about the attention. I mean, it was, a statement that I still think what I was able to see, Matt, from a winning standpoint at Oregon, what I've been a part of my entire life, and then when you couple that with the coaches I was able to add to this first year at Kentucky, the players we were able to add, that to me is our winning edge. And but I'm not necessarily surprised, that it got that type of attention. Yeah. But I know more than anything, it's about the people in our organization, and that's really important to me more than me.
You had a change in your front office last week. Did you anticipate that move at all, and why the decision to quickly promote Pete to GM?
Yeah, I've known Pete since I was 18 years old. He's he's a Lexington guy, born and bred. Dad played here. Dad was a high school principal in Lexington. And Pete is somebody, when I initially got here, he was one of my first calls. And so Pete could be a GM across all of college football. He's very smart. He's extremely well organized. And he played football. I think that's really important at the GM role. It's not a necessity, but when you play the game, when you've coached the game at a high level, he was a quick move up. And so just like anything in life, the sun rose the next day, and we put our best foot forward to continue to make Kentucky football the best it possibly can. So really excited about Pete and his opportunity, and building our personnel department even more now.
Well, did you decide on a full-time position for Martellus Carter? Is he going to be a running back?
Yeah, he'll be at running back.
Coach, you guys have had success at the quarterback position everywhere you've been since being an offensive coordinator. What attributes do you think that Kenny Minchie has that fits so well into your offense and into Joe Sloan's offense, that maybe you can enlighten some of the fans on some of those attributes?
Well, just tangibles. He's really accurate. He throws on time. He's got great feet, and he's mobile. I think those are critical factors in successful quarterbacks in today's modern football. Intangibles. Loves the game, high football IQ, great leader. So I'm excited about Kenny and what he's going to be able to do for us this season. It's obviously his first opportunity. So will there be hiccups? I'm sure there will. There's opportunities to improve after every single game, not just from a player's perspective, but even from a coach and game manager's perspective, like I'll be doing. So, he's got all the support in the world from his teammates and from his coaches, and excited about his opportunity.
When you deal with your quarterbacks, are you more curious about what they do really well and growing that, or how they react when things go wrong, and what are you looking for?
I think it's all encompassing. We obviously want to run the schemes and the plays that fit them. But whenever you fail, there's an opportunity for growth. And so not just at the quarterback position, but every position. And on Sundays after games, we'll what we call go to the doctor, and we'll figure out what we did well, what we didn't do well, and act accordingly to improve our program in all facets. So I think you got to put them in all those positions that you can. You obviously don't want them to fail in games, but some of the biggest learning moments happen within a stadium and not just out at practice. But we'll put him in compromising positions throughout the week to make sure he's ready to handle those moments on Saturdays.
Well, to go back to the fifth-year ruling, is there like NIL money and revenue share money available to bring in good players at this point in a season?
Yeah, I think there's always ways to combat that if we are even given the opportunity. It's just still early in that whole process. I think everybody's figuring it out across college football. I don't think it's as black and white as it might seem. I think there's a lot of court rulings that still happen, and injunctions and all those fancy words that I'm still trying to figure out what it all means. But we'll attack those issues when they arise.
Well, you played in a game in this stadium now. We're about a month out from you actually coaching a game. Will there be nerves? Will there be like a time of reflection? It's like your whole life has led you up to this moment.
I have butterflies before every game. Even at my last, I don't know how many stops I've been. I think that's just human nature. And it's not nervous energy because of being unprepared or doubt or fear. It's just the anxiety of getting that ball kicked and starting to play a football game. But, it's once you get in the moment, you want to be so laser focused that you're not worried about external factors that ultimately don't matter, like nostalgia or a love of this program. You just have a job to do, and that's what's most important. So will there be emotions as I run out? I mean, as of now, I haven't even really tried to think about that. I've thought about what I'm doing today to get ourselves in a better position than I was yesterday. But I'm sure there'll be some of those.
What's up, Coach? As a former player here at Kentucky, how are you ensuring 100% buy-in and not just compliance from your team?
I've talked about this a lot. It's about connection. That's number one. You have to know the guys next to you. In the day and age of college football where we added 45 new players, you have to start there with, I know the man to my left and right's story. I know where they're from. I know the people in their story. I know adversity that's hit in their story. I know great moments in their life, bad moments in their life. And I feel like we've gone through a lot together in our 7 months, and there'll be plenty more moments for us to go through things together. But connected teams are tough to beat, and I think that buy-in to each other is where it all starts.
Coach, with all the new players on your roster, but given how quickly other teams across the country, with those vast majority of new players have played for championships, is the word championship when it comes to the SEC talked about within your program this year?
No, we just talk about our process. I mean, we just talk about what we have to do every single day to be our very best and let the results speak for themselves. So we're still trying to master that, and we'll have to reteach some things as we start practice, just because it's been a little bit since we've been out there with helmets and then eventually shoulder pads and full gear, and how to stay up, how to stay off the quarterback, how to run from drill to drill. But my hope is that throughout the last 8 weeks in summer that we're prepared for practice and that we can go out there and play our best football early in the year. But we don't necessarily talk about that. I mean, it's not that it's just a hidden message. We obviously have goals and aspirations, but you have to master the mundane, the little things every single day to even give yourself a chance at those moments.
Well, how do you feel about the backup quarterback options at this point?
I feel good. I feel, who we've added to the roster and being able to get Callum in there and Matt and, coupled with Brennan and Ja'Kai. I mean, I think it's going to be a battle. There's been nothing given in that room. So we're excited about those guys to go out there and compete.
You probably do more about the program than most new coaches coming here. But having been here, I'm sure you've seen different things. Is there anything that's been maybe more positive than you thought it would be, or is more of a challenge than you thought it would be in Kentucky specifically?
That's a good question. You don't understand completely how much everybody cares about football until you get here, and everywhere I go, people are so excited about Kentucky football. That to me was very exciting, especially coming from where I was just at and then previously coaching in the state of Texas where football truly is religion. So that's been very positive. The support from our fans, has been incredible. So that's something I guess I knew, but when you get in this chair, you're like, wow. I mean, I'm across the country. I'm traveling, whether it's for recruiting or just even the last couple of weeks with my family. And I mentioned this, recently that I was in Key West, and the guy behind the counter who was giving me a rental car was a Kentucky grad and was excited about Kentucky football, and then gave me a blue minivan to drive around the Keys. So that's what I think. It's surprising, but it's just reassuring that I'm in the right spot.
Well, you obviously have family ties and grew up a Kentucky fan, but you have a lot of guys on your staff who don't have that background but played at Louisville. Is this transition, you think, weird for those guys?
No, I mean, this is our profession. This is what we do for a living. And ultimately, wherever you coach, wherever you go, in our mind, you're so ingrained in that team and what it takes to win, because this is how we feed our families. So the alliance is 150,000% to the University of Kentucky, because it keeps our lights on and it keeps our kids fed and allows us to send our kids to good schools and allows our wives to be happy. And so that's what I think all of our guys on our staff are all about.
Well, what is for you going first full camp as head coach? What for you? What do you want to see from your team to have a successful camp? What does that look like when you all start? I guess week 1 prep.
I thought you were going to ask me the same question you asked me before.
No,
yeah, I know. No. I love you all's questions. They're all great. You asked what I need to see from our team now compared to what we
Just like for you, what is maybe one thing you want to see, like when you all break camp, what do you want to see your team grow?
yeah, that's a good question. I mentioned this before. Can we learn how to not beat ourselves before the play? Meaning, can we align properly out of the huddle or in a tempo situation? Can our defense get lined up? That is huge. I know that seems like elementary and little league, but that has to happen. We have to be masters of the details. And when you have a winter walk, you have spring football, you have summer. Now we're in the fall camp. Like I mentioned, this is fourth time through our install. Our guys now need to be ahead of the curve where we're not teaching basic alignment. So I want to make sure that is as important as how we take the field is our execution and detail of our offense, defense, and special teams.
Coach, your dad played here, and how much have you leaned on him for support and advice going into the season?
He's always very supportive. He doesn't ever try to call a play or tell me what to do. He's just there for support, like you just asked. So, it's obviously very exciting because of his ties to this university and his former teammates. But he's a dad, and he's been that way forever.
Coach Jay Bateman was able to do some really good things over at Texas A&M, specifically with the safeties. How nice is it to have a guy like Ty, a guy like Jordan leading the way, and just talk about their skill set and how maybe they complement each other.
Yeah, both are outstanding football players. Have played thousands of snaps in this conference. Ty being an All-SEC performer last season. Jordan's played over 2,000 snaps in the SEC himself. So, our safeties are really good players. Jay does an excellent job, with our entire defense, but even specifically with CY as coaching the safeties, who's been with Jay before at multitude of stops. So excited about all those guys, and our back end is strong.
Will you embrace the challenge of an SEC schedule on multiple occasions? But it seemed like back in the day, like when your dad played, you play your non-conference games and work your way up to the SEC. Well, now, you all are thrown right in the fire really early. What are your thoughts? And I know you can't control it. Just on the calendar, the way it's constructed, because there's little room for error.
Well, yeah, we have an in-state rival that, the TV wants everybody to face at the end of the season. So, like you mentioned, I think it probably used to be more non-conference and you just go around your conference. But there's stuff with the TV that is for sure out of my control. And I don't know how many teams in the SEC have an in-state rival that's out of conference, but we're one of them. And so that puts them at the end. But, you can control what you can. And they say we're playing on September 5th at 1 o'clock against Youngstown State. So I know I'll be here for that game. And that's all I can control right now.
For the first-time starter quarterback, especially, how important is it to have that steadying presence of Colton at center for what you're going to do on offense?
Very important. Colton Price is as good of a center as I've been around. We obviously haven't gone through a game yet, but just how he prepares, his mentality, his physicality, his athleticism, consistency. He's a pro in every sense of the word. And so I'm very thankful that we have Colton because he really anchors that unit.
How much of this head coaching gig so far had you kind of scripted out in your head in advance or planned out, and what kind of audibles have you had up to this point?
Yeah, that's a good question, Eric. I think, you always have this vision and plan, but it definitely does change throughout the course of even a day. You have a schedule set, and then you got to go patch this hole over here and patch this hole over here, but that's what you sign up for. It's not just calling plays or the football, it's everything else. And so I've already had to call audibles, and we've changed somewhat of how this fall camp is going to go based on our spring, based on our player load, stuff that we did with our sports science department that has given me some better direction with this current team. And so it's different than what I learned, not entirely, but from what we did at Oregon last year during this time. Like we did 4 practices in a row last year, and I cut it to 3 just because as you get to that 4th practice in a row, that's when soft tissue happens. So we've adapted in that sense already. And then, our model for practice is going to be 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. And so we're going to keep that throughout fall camp. But I'm willing to adjust and adapt because that's what you have to do as a coach. You can't just say we're going to do it just because this is how it's always been. You have to see where your team is, meet them somewhere in the middle to still create toughness and get the reps that you need to go execute.
Will, did you come out of spring with anything, maybe not necessarily a concern, but something that you thought had to be addressed real early in camp?
I mean, I don't know. I think you still are trying to fight and see what happens throughout summer. So I wouldn't say there was like some major concern. You know, obviously, backup quarterback, we added somebody after the spring just because, like, I like having arms. I've been in situations where you don't have a guy that's necessarily ready to go into the game, and then you look up and you're in a bad position. So we added people there. We actually, obviously, you all already asked about the running backs. We added spots there. So there's certain depth at certain positions that you look at, but you know, there's only one portal window now, so you can't add people to the roster like you could a few years ago in May, which I like. I like one portal window, but you know, there's some depth at certain positions that you look at. You're like, okay, can we hold up throughout the season? And that's where I have to do a good job of how we practice and to make sure that we're in a good spot.
Will, what are your expectations for DJ Miller?
My expectations for DJ is to turn the page. Like, you're not a young player anymore. Your job is to go out there and compete at the highest level of college football. He's got the height, weight, speed. DJ's biggest roadblock is himself. He's got to go out there and perform. And that's what I challenge him to do every single day, is to be a pro. If you want to be a pro, you got to act like it. You got to be a guy that practices different than everybody else. And you can't be afraid to make mistakes. Go out there and cut it loose. And so I'm really excited about him. He obviously has the ability. He's got to continue to push himself to limits that he's never been pushed. And so that's what fall camp's about for him too. But my expectation for him is to go out there and be a guy for us.
Will, you talk about how excited this fan base is. Talk about your situation in Key West. Obviously, this being a foundational year for your program, just what do you want the fan base to say after the end of the year? Obviously, you want to win, but just what do you want them to know and see about this?
Just like every year in ball, I want them to see a team that gets better from week 1 to week 12. Like, truly improves. And that has been at every stop I've ever been. So this isn't just based off a projection that everybody's telling us how good we are or how not good we are. If you can get better literally every single day and every single week, that to me shows sustainability of a program, buy-in from the players, and it's going to result in winning football. And so that is what I want our fans to see more than anything. A team that gets better every single week, and then a team that just cuts it loose and plays with relentless effort and plays for one another.
Thanks, folks.
Appreciate it.
We got to get.
Thank you.